एषः सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एषः सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्मिमाणः निर्मिमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यपि कश्चन एतद्द्वैता 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 एतद्द्वैता.
Namaste. We all wish you a blessed Vijayadashami, and we are very happy that we are starting the 3-day webinar on this auspicious day with the blessings of Amma, the goddess of letters, on this Vidyarambam day. Dear members of Thiruvananthapuram branch and the other branches and all others who have joined here, we welcome you all. Today is the inaugural day of the 3-day GST webinar. We have here the guest of honor and the key speaker for the day, the dynamic Central Council member and the chairman of GST and Indirect Tax Committee, C.A. Sri Rajendra Kumar. We welcome you, sir. On behalf of the members of Thiruvananthapuram branch, the management committee, and all others who are present here. And we have here our own Central Council member and a person who does everything for us, who support us, who guide us, who points out what mistakes we are doing, wrong thing we are doing, and corrects us. Thank you so much for your guidance, sir. Sir, we welcome you on behalf of the management committee and the management committee and the members of the Thiruvananthapuram branch, all others present here. We welcome you, sir. Babu Abraham Kalivailil, our Central Council member. This 3-day webinar will be is getting inaugurated by Sri Giridhar Pai, IRS, the Commissioner of GST Thiruvananthapuram. He is the Commissioner who is of GST, who is in charge of all the southern districts of Kerala. He is an IRS officer who has more than 22 years of service. Graduated as a mechanical engineer. He is also a graduate in law and also graduated in many other subjects also from the universities. If I say about him, he has made GST department of Thiruvananthapuram people friendly. The GST department is really approachable now. That is the speciality after his taking charge. And the grievances which the businessmen or the professionals are facing are getting addressed as early as possible. That is thank you for making such changes, sir. And
welcome.
We welcome you.
Thank you.
On behalf of the members of Thiruvananthapuram branch and all those who are presented here, we welcome you, sir. Now I invite the Central Council member and the GST committee and GST and Indirect Tax Committee chairman, C.A. Rajendra Kumar, sir, to address us. Sir.
Very esteemed Central Council member, my very, very dear friend from the Regional Council days, CA Babu Abraham Kallivailil, very esteemed Chairman of the branch, Anil, Honorable Chief Guest, Giridhar Sir, and all other managing committee members of the branch and also the participants. It is a very proud moment for the Thiruvananthapuram branch today that we have here with us the chief of the GST in the Thiruvananthapuram division inaugurating this refresher course. As the chairman of the GST and Indirect Taxes Committee of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, I deem it a great privilege to extend a very hearty and warm welcome to him. On my personal behalf, sir, I must submit that we in the Institute are extremely thankful to each and every official of the Department of GST, especially the CGST Government of India, for working very, very dynamically in these most tough times in human history. As a committee, we have also been working very closely with the government on two fronts: the policy making and the implementation. At the policy level, we regularly interact with the GST Council, with the CBIC, whenever issues are being discussed or whenever there are matters which are to be taken to the GST Council. Few days before the GST Council meeting, we have a detailed interaction with the Joint Secretary and others in the GST Council, and we regularly meet the member CBIC GST, the Commissioner GST Policy Implementation, and also the TRU members, and highlight the policy matters that need to be taken up. At the implementation stage, our institute is in the forefront. Each and every member of the institute is today working towards fulfilling the dream of the Government of India of ensuring that GST becomes truly an easy tax. Every chartered accountant is spending sleepless nights to ensure that returns are filed, audits are done, and proper tax is being paid to the government. For the year 2017-18, through GSTR 9, the Government of India collected about 10,000 crores. I must proudly say, sir, that chartered accountants were also one of the communities who were responsible for this collection of 9,000 crores. Given the fact that GSTR 9C audit report that is being filed by us is along with GSTR 9, an amount of about 9,500 crores was collected by the government of Government of India, sir, and we will not lag behind in 18-19 also. Our publications, we are regularly sending it to your office also. I hope you would have received our background materials, our handbooks, etc., which we are publishing on a regular basis. I must proudly say, sir, we are the only institute in the whole of the country, of course, after the Government of India's publications, which are current. And I am proud, sir, and I am thankful that the CBIC, as a reference material, has recommended only the institute's material to the department officials. And that is a proud moment for us. CA Babu Abraham Kallivailil, our strong force in Kerala, I must say, in the southern region. Our chairman was mentioning that he corrects us whenever we are wrong. Chairman, sir, he also corrects us in the Central Council. He guides us in the Central Council. A very dynamic person, a futuristic person, a forward-looking person. Babu Abraham is an asset, not only to Kerala, but to the entire country as a Central Council. With these brief opening remarks, I thank each and every one of you for inviting me, and thank the chairman for giving me this opportunity, and our honorable chief guest for in fact honoring us with his esteemed and dynamic presence. Thank you very much.
I request Mr. Babu Abraham Kallivailil, the Central Council member of ICAI, to address us.
Honorable Chief Guest of the day, the Commissioner of GST Trivandrum, Giridhar Pai, other officers of the department, my very distinguished colleague in the Apex Council of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, more than that, Chairman of the GST and Indirect Tax Committee of the Institute, who is doing a yeoman service to the profession and to the country. In fact, GST committee is facing an unprecedented challenge during the COVID time. The committee lost its one of the most efficient and able secretary, Sharath, due to COVID. He lost his life. And 2 weeks back, the very beloved father of the chairman of the GST committee, R.K. Zhar's father, passed away due to COVID. Despite that, R.K. Zhar is back in the service of the institute very soon. Sir, our heartfelt condolences for the sad demise. And R.K. Zhar has been in the forefront of the GST. You might have seen the quality of the publications. And especially the monthly newsletter is truly a reference material on what is the latest developments in the GST field. And my compliments and congratulations to you for continuing to guide the members and the profession in the GST audit and also in filing the form number 9 annual return. And as all of us know, and chairman of the branch, Anil Parameswaran, who has been very active despite the challenges related to the COVID, Secretary Cherianji, Ramesh, and other office bearers of the branch, and my dear colleagues who has joined for this webinar. GST regime, as all of us know, is a revolutionary in the helm of commodity taxes in the country. It has brought about a paradigm shift in the methodology of the levy of tax and collections. Thanks to the effort of GST committee under the able leadership of R.K. Zhar, the CBIC has extended the due date for filing of the annual return in GSTR 9 and the reconciliation statement GSTR 9C for the financial year 18-19 to December 31, 2020. It is one of the very noble effort, because many places offices are not functioning due to COVID. Staff is not reporting. There are a lot of, and clients' offices are not working. All those challenges are there. Therefore, it has been a very, very, definitely it is a very, very helpful measure. And thanks to you and also the department for understanding the ground reality and extending the due date for filing. As all of us know, 2018-19, we are all required to complete the audit also. And it has been for the 18-19 year, the limit for audit has been increased to 5 crores. Though for the 19-20, the limit continues to be at 2 crores. Therefore, the department relies quite a bit on the audit certification by the chartered accountants. And I'm sure we should be able to live up to the expectation of the department as far as GST audit is concerned. And as an auditor, we should be able to determine, affirm that the tax liability determined is being done correctly, correct classification of goods and services is done, time and place of supply is correctly determined, done proper valuation of the goods and services, availed and utilized input tax credit correctly. In fact, probably this is one of the most challenging area for the auditor, according to me. Even though the law doesn't mandate one-to-one matching of the input and output, But as an auditor, we should have the all kind of comfort in ensuring that the input claimed by the assessees are being correct. And as also, same is the case with exemptions and refunds. And also complied with the procedures with respect to the amendments in TDS and TCS payments of tax, including the RCM. Therefore, definitely, I'm sure the webinars like this will go a long way in educating the members. And I'm extremely glad that today the first session is being handled by the GST committee chairman himself. He has got hands-on experience in practical issues, the issues happening in the field, and also he has been very closely involved in the GST publications. Therefore, I am sure chairman could not have found a better speaker. And ably, today we are fortunate to have the commissioner also with us, so that we will also get what are the views of the department and what are the expectations of the department, and on certain issues, what are the views taken by the department. I'm very glad that this seminar, and I wish you all the very best. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite the Commissioner of GST Thiruvananthapuram to say the inaugural address.
Good afternoon to all of you. CA Shri Rajendra Kumar, Chairman, Indirect Tax Committee and GST, ICAI. Shri Babu Abraham, Central Council Member. A. Anil Kumar Parmeshwaran, Chairman, Thiruvananthapuram Branch of ICAI. And the dear stakeholders who are participants in this webinar. I am honored and delighted to be a part of this program, and thankful that you have contacted me for inauguration of this webinar. The webinar being held on 3 days, 26, 27, 28, and the topics that are being covered, like classification of goods and services, the interest fee, interest, late fee and penalties that are levied, and the assessment procedure. All these are very important and relevant to the foundation of the GST compliance. So I'm very happy that there is a very good response to this webinar. There are some 51 participants. This will surely enable capacity building of these stakeholders, who in turn facilitate compliance to the GST. I compliment the organizers, the ICAI, for their initiative and the efforts to make this fruitful webinar for the participants. Actually, I have, as Mr. Parmeshwaran said, I keep receiving the booklets that are published by ICAI. And one of the very good booklets which I saw on the website also was about the classification of supplies under GST, which was published in July 2018. It's a very detailed handbook and a very it's like a tutorial for any newcomer also to go through that handbook and understand how classification of goods and services are done in GST. It also explains what are the requirements and why this classification is an important aspect of GST. From the taxpayer's point of view, classification of goods and services is an important step, because you are able to determine the tax liability, whether there are any exemptions for that supply or not, plus whether it's a mixed supply or a composite supply. So there are many aspects of classification. And often a common man feels that, or a taxpayer feels that, why have such a complicated classification system? And why have so many commodities listed? Why have so many services listed if the rates of duty are common? Like in case of, say, motor vehicles or motorcycles, why not have a common classification and do away with this 8-digit or 6-digit or 4-digit classification? So here I would like to emphasize that classification has been adopted from the Customs Tariff Act, which in turn is based on the HSN published by the WCO. This governs the international trade in goods, and the services are as per the UNCPC. These all govern the international practices that are followed in trade of goods and services. when we have such granular data about what is the kind, what product is being manufactured, what are the services being rendered, what are the goods being imported, what are manufactured here, what services are supplied here. This gives the granular data to the policymaker to make targeted interventions from policy perspective. Even if the rates of duty are same, it is always beneficial for a policymaker to have details about each and every granular good or service that is being supplied within the country as well as across borders. It becomes a very important aspect for policymakers. And even from trade perspective, if like the way the handbook has been made by ICAI, if it can be made simple and can be explained in a simple manner, it is not a rocket science for anybody to understand classification of goods and services under GST. Similarly, in central excise and service tax, we had a self-assessment procedure. So same aspect is being used in GST. This casts a very important responsibility on the taxpayer and the chartered accountants who handhold the taxpayers to comply with GST. It becomes very important for them to classify the goods and services rightly, pay appropriate duty, file returns in time, and most importantly, remit the tax which has already been collected from the recipients as GST to the government within the given time frame. This timely payment enables the government to meet its fiscal expenditures without any slip from month to month. So this is one important aspect which I would request the ICAI to convey to the taxpayers also. Though at times there are many cases where there are financial constraints, but wherever a GST has been collected, and if that is not deposited in time, though there are corresponding interest and late fees and penalties leviable, ideally a GST which has been collected should be remitted in time to the government. So, considering these important topics like classification, assessment, and timely filing of returns, these are very important topics which form the foundation of any compliance to GST by a taxpayer. I find that these topics covered are very relevant from the point of view of taxpayer as well as the exchequer. I hope the participants get good inputs on these topics from ICAI, who has been a resource partner of the government since the last 3 years. And I don't think there could be a better proponent who can explain GST than ICAI. I wish all the participants and the ICAI a success in all their future endeavors. I would like to keep in touch with the ICAI Trivandrum chapter because I am also the team leader for preparing ebook, MCQs and FAQs on classification of goods and services under GST under the IGOT program of the government, Integrated Government Online Training Program. So we will be in continuous touch for this purpose also. Thanks a lot for inviting me as a chief guest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for saying kind words to us. And we will also be in touch with you in whenever we feel difficult in following the procedures. Thank you, sir. Now I invite the Vice Chairman of Tirunelveli branch to introduce the faculty. Even though Rajendra Kumar sir doesn't need an introduction, as a formality we are doing.
Good afternoon to all. CA Rajendra Kumar P needs no introduction, but customs demand formal introduction. He's a commerce graduate from University of Madras. He's a fellow member of ICAI and also a graduate member of Institute of Cost Accountants of India. Is elected to the Central Council of ICAI for the term 2019-22. Currently he is the chairman of GST and Indirect Taxes Committee. He is the vice chairman of Committee on Management Accounting, Deputy Convener of Members and Students Service Directorate, member of Disciplinary Committee, Bench 2, and so many other committees. He was also a member of Central Council during 2010 and 13. He is an independent director on the boards of reputed companies. He is also appointed the board of Central Warehousing Corporation as an independent director for a period of 3 years since January 2020. He is also the chairman of the audit committee of the corporation. He is a member of the International VAT Association, headquarters in Belgium. He was the president of the prestigious Hindustan Chamber of Commerce for the year 2018 and 19. He was also the member of editorial board of ICA Journal, the chartered accountant. And as a resource person, he is an acknowledged expert on GST, excise duty, service tax, and VAT, sharing his knowledge at seminars, conferences, workshops, training programs, and lectures. Lecture meeting is his passion, and he has written and presented over 800 papers both in India and outside India. He has handled training programs in the area of indirect taxes for officials of Government of India, Government of Tamil Nadu, Government of Mizoram, and many other body corporates. He is also a popular television personality and has been interviewed on Doordarshan, Jaya TV, Sun TV, and many other channels on indirect taxation, finance, investment, career guidance, and employment-related matters. With these words, I introduce before you our faculty, CA Rajendra Umar, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chairman Ramesh, sir. And once again, good afternoon to each and every participant of this refresher course. First thing is, I must compliment our chairman, Anil, sir. Why? When he told me that I should come and make a presentation, and when I requested him that, Chairman, sir, I would like to speak on classification, he immediately agreed. Esteemed friends, I have been watching, or rather I have been coordinating numerous programs across the country on behalf of the committee, or when branches are doing it, or when regional councils are doing it. And I also been observing the numerous programs which other trade bodies and such associations are doing. Very rarely I find a topic on classification in their schedule. But as the commissioners have said, classification is the key in GST, sine qua non, I must say, in GST. When I said classification, chairman immediately agreed. I must sincerely thank him from the bottom of my heart for accepting that this topic we will make a presentation, and it will be an opening presentation rather than GSTR 9 or 9C or registration and so on. Esteemed friends, whatever we are doing now, filing of returns, filing of annual returns, filing of GSTR 9C, the audit, everything that we are doing now will be nothing when the department is going to come to your client's place for audit. See, in income tax scrutiny, we chartered accountants go to the income tax department, appear before the officer concerned. We take the records data and he inspects them. In the GST, scrutiny is the reverse. What we call departmental audit in GST is actually the scrutiny, where instead of we going to the department will come to your client's place. And remember, esteemed friends, in 5 years once, every client, every registered person of yours will be audited, will be scrutinized. And they have a 5-year period to look into, 5-year period. When the department is going to come, 3 issues they are going to focus upon. They may focus on many things, but there are 3 most important aspects which the department is going to focus upon. The third, I'll start first. The third issue will be reconciliation between the books of accounts, records, and the returns filed by the registered person. I need not dwell more on that, you are aware fully. Second will be input tax credit. Whether the registered person has properly taken the input tax credit or has properly reversed the input tax credit, and that credit matches with the books of accounts. But number one, what they are going to concentrate is on classification. I will give you one live example. Few days back, hardly not days, months back, few months back, one chartered accountant called me and said, Rajendra Kumar RK sir, my client is a trader. My client is a trader. He buys goods, he sells goods. The department people have issued him a letter asking him to produce certain details, and we have submitted the details. On production of the details, the department is telling that your client has wrongly charged a tax. The rate of tax charged by your client is wrong in one particular product. Where he should have charged 12%, your client has charged 5%. That is what the notice is, that letter says, that the official says. So the chartered accountant concerned was interacting with his client, and the client said, sir, whatever purchases I make, whatever GST is there in the purchase invoice, I am charging the same rate only. I have not charged anything different, sir. I have not reduced or not, I have not charged extra. I am charging the same rate. The department officer said, you are correct. You are not wrong in charging the same rate, but the person from whom you bought, the manufacturer, he has charged the wrong rate. Instead of 5%, instead of charging 12, he has charged 5. And you have followed the same thing. He is also wrong. You are also wrong. All of you are wrong, and all of you are liable to pay GST. You would want to know what is that product. It was flavored milk. It was flavored milk. In fact, milk itself has 3 different rates, or had 3 different rates at one point of time. 5, 12, 18. And if you take 0 as a rate, it had 4 rates. In fact, this 12 was a rate for flavored milk, and 18 was a rate for flavored milk with nuts. So, esteemed friends, the rate which your client is charging is extremely important. But what I find in our community is that we immediately ask for rate of GST on a WhatsApp. On a WhatsApp. I have never given an opinion or any reference with reference to rate of tax on WhatsApp. Whenever anyone has asked a question, I have called the person concerned and had a detailed discussion with the person concerned as to what is this question you have put. Because there may be different views. As we are going to go through my presentation, I'm going to make a small short presentation now on this also. You will find that how important classification is. There is a difference between ready to eat and ready to cook. There is a difference between product of natural rubber latex and a toy. There's a difference between automobile and a toy automobile. There is a difference between electrical and electronics. And when there are numerous rates in India like 0, 5, 12, 18 and 28, 5 different rates, a wrong rate may result in wiping out the entire surplus or the profit that the registered person has made in not in one financial year, but maybe in 4 to 5 financial years. So, esteemed friends, the annual return, the GSTR 9C are absolutely nothing. In fact, I would always say, why GSTR 9C? It is only trying to tie our roles. How much fees we will get by one GSTR 9C? 5,000, 10,000, 15,000? But when the client is going to be issued a notice by the department, it is one opportunity not only to display your professional skills, but also to fairly charge a client for a particular work. Every person is going to be audited, let me tell you, once in 5 years. Every registered person, whether it is big, medium, or small. Friends, just give me a moment. I would like to share my screen. I hope all of you are able to see my screen. Yes, thank you. Classification in GST. Friends, this is the broad structure. You will see how it looks like. We have 4 digits followed by 2 small digits. And then we have 4 digits followed by 2 small digits, so 8 digits. Look at this screen before you. Look at this particulars: waters including mineral water and aerated waters containing added sugar or other sweetening matter or flavored. Look at the rates: 14, 9, and 6. Aerated waters 14, lemonade 14, others 14, non-alcoholic beer 14, soya milk drinks 6, fruit pulp or fruit juice based drink 6, beverages containing milk 6, and others is 9. Look at these different rates, CGST rates, I'm telling you, CGST rates. Now, as we proceed, now look at this chapter 33. Now, what is this chapter? I will explain to you very clearly as we proceed. Now, in one single code itself, GST code, HSN code 3306, you will find 2 different rates. Tooth powder is 6%, tooth paste is 9%. Yarn used to clean between the teeth, the dental floss is 9%, and others it is 9%. Friends, like this, you will find numerous rates. Now, where will you find? This is with respect to services, will come a little while later. Where will you find all these things? What is classification? I have already told you. Classifying the goods. Classifying the goods or the services. Why classification is required? It is required because you want to know the rate of GST. Esteemed friends, how you have to classify the goods. Which section in the Act gives the power to classify the goods? These are the questions that we are going to answer in the next slide. Now, this is the levy and collection, section 9. Section 9 is the section which says that a rate of tax not exceeding 20% CGST plus 20% SGST, total 40% is the rate up to which the government can go, will be charged. So this is the section which empowers to know where and why classification is required. Now, in the GST, there is a notification, notification 1/2017, which contains the rates of GST, the CGST. The CGST rates you will find here: 2.5, 6, 9, 14, and 1.5 and 0.125. This is how broadly the notification looks like. You would have seen all these, friends. I am absolutely confident you have seen it more than once. But have you seen this? Have you read this? Have you gone through this? Is what I am now going to take you through. In the end of the notification, you will find tariff item, subheading, heading, and chapter shall mean respectively a tariff item, heading, subheading, and chapter as specified in the first schedule to the Customs Tariff Act. The rules for interpretation of the first schedule to the Customs Tariff Act, including the section and chapter notes and the general explanatory notes of the first schedule shall, so far as may be, apply to the interpretation of this notification. Now, I am going to give you one homework. Tomorrow, or as and when the time permits, all of you shall go to the bookshop and place an order to buy Customs Tariff Act of 1975. Customs Tariff Act of 1975, because Notification 1/2017, which deals with the GST rates, is totally based on the Customs Tariff Act only. On the Customs Tariff Act only. Friends, I am now going to take you through this is how the Customs Tariff Act 1975 is scheduled. There are two schedules, Schedule 1 and Schedule 2. Schedule 1 deals with import tariff, Schedule 2 deals with export tariff. Look at this notification. It says general explanatory notes of the first schedule. So this is what is the first schedule. Look at this first schedule. There are how many sections? 21 sections in the first schedule. There are how many chapters? 98 chapters are there in the Customs Tariff. That is the reason why the services schedule is 99. It is not forming part of Customs Tariff Act, because Customs Tariff Act deals with goods only and not services. And then there are 5 columns. There are 5 columns. Now, each section is divided into a chapter. Each chapter is further divided into sub-chapters. And the columns, the tariff item, description of goods, unit, standard rate of duty for preferential area is further divided into headings and subheadings. Friends, this is the broad manner in which the sections are distributed. I am not taking all the 21 sections. This is only for the purposes of your understanding. Section 1, the title is Live Animals, Animal Products. Section 2, the title is Vegetable Products. Section 4, the title is Prepared Foodstuffs and Beverages. Section 6, the title is Product of Chemical or Allied Industries. Section 11, Textile and Textile Articles. Section 12, Footwear, Headgear, Umbrella, Articles of Human Hair. And Section 17, Vehicles, Aircraft, Vessels, and Associated Transfer Equipment. This is only for the purposes of our understanding. Now look at this Section 4 when I said Prepared Foodstuffs and Beverages. It has got many chapters. I told you 98 chapters. Section 4, Chapter 16 deals with preparations of meat and fish. Chapter 17 deals with sugar and sugar confectionery. Chapter 18 deals with cocoa and cocoa preparation. And if you look at the heading, Chapter 17, I'm taking sugar and sugar confectionery. Look at this heading. 1701 deals with cane or beet sugar. 1702 other sugars. 1703 deals with molasses. And this is how the chapter is laid down in the Customs Tariff Act. Always the chapter will say what it does not cover. This chapter does not cover sugar confectionery containing cocoa, Cadbury's, dairy milk, and dairy, all those type of chocolates. This chapter does not cover chemically pure sugars. And this chapter also does not cover medicaments or other products of Chapter 30. Each and every chapter is significant, my esteemed friends. And when you're going to buy the Customs Tariff Act, Please go through each and every chapter independently, quietly, at leisure, because that is going to help you in future. That is going to help you in future. In fact, what is this HSN, Harmonized Systems Nomenclature? All the world countries follow HSN because it is propounded by the World Customs Organization, which is headquartered in Brussels. In fact, the Harmonized Systems Nomenclature is a book of about 10 volumes, costing about 2.5 to 3 lakh of rupees. When some of you are going to visit the institute headquarters in the southern region, and please visit the Regional Council Library in the first floor of the research block, which is the Nahar Library, named after A. Bawarlal Nahar, who donated a sizable portion for construction of that particular hall. The Nahar Library has this HSN, all 10 volumes. Whenever you come to Chennai, please go through. And if some of you are exclusively practicing and feel that you can invest, please buy this HSN. You can import it. It is not locally available in India. You have to buy it only from the World Customs Organization site. omdwco.org is their site where you can go and place orders. In fact, HSN, for the Harmonized Systems Nomenclature, they have published numerous explanatory notes to various headings and subheadings. Of course, these explanatory notes will not form part of your HSN. They are not exhaustive. The commentary cannot be changed, but they give a better understanding of the tariff headings. There are 5 volumes which are published by WCO, and with other 5 volumes of various other parameters of the HSN, totally it comes to 10 volumes, esteemed friends. Now, is classification simple? Harmonized Systems Nomenclature, is it simple? I would like to request you to think about parts and accessories. When a tire is given along with a car, what is the classification? When a tube is given with a tire, what is the classification? Is something a part or is it an accessory? Please think about it. Sets and kits. Goods removed as sets, cycle. Is it a, what is the classification? Kit, a small bag containing various toothpaste, brush, shaving kit, etc., put in a small kit and given. What is the classification? New products coming in the market, especially mobile phones. Long back, the mobile phone was just a phone. Then it became a camera. Then it became a computer. Today it has become a supercomputer. You can scan, do anything. But what is it? The shower you take bath. It is simply a shower. Or there is also a hydro massage shower. Is it a medical instrument? Is it a product which is relating to health care? These are something, because as new inventions takes place, the challenges of classification becomes extremely different and difficult. Friends, product consisting of mixed materials, especially the eatables. New products are being sold in the market. When in about 20 years back, when we used to go to a departmental store, we used to find only very few products. Today, there are numerous products which have come on a daily basis. You have ready-to-eat idiyappams. You have ready-to-eat parathas. You have ready-to-eat chapatis. Everything is ready to eat. Vegetables are being cut and packed and sold. That is the situation there today, and we are coming. I told multi-purpose goods. I mean, like again an example of mobile phone. You can use it for so many different reasons. Record a video, take a photograph, send a mail, receive a mail, send an SMS, send a message, receive a phone call, send a telephone phone call, and so on. Now, friends, whenever we are going to deal with classification, I want you to look into this. Ingredients or use, the relevance of the name of the product, the scientific understanding, domain understanding, and user understanding. As we proceed, I will explain to you. Please do not hurry up. Now, these are the tools for classification. Section note and the chapter note. There are 6 rules of interpretation. The HSN explanatory note propounded by the World Customs Organization. Now, let us understand the general rules of interpretation. This is the first rule of interpretation. The first rule is that the titles of the sections and chapters do not have any legal force. Don't go by that. Terms of heading with relevant section or chapter notes are legally relevant for the purposes of classification. The rules of interpretation need not be resorted to when classification is possible on the basis of description in heading, subheading, chapter note, and section note. Notes of one chapter cannot be applied for interpreting entries in other chapters or sections. What is this? What is this? Is it a product of rubber and articles thereof, or is it footwear, gaiters, and the like? Now, if you look at it, you may say it is a product of natural rubber, or you may say it is a footwear, isn't it? Which is the most common meaning that we adopt to this rubber slippers, or what you call as Hawaii chapel? Look at this. Rubber and articles thereof, chapter 40. What it says, this chapter does not cover, look at clause B, footwear or parts thereof of chapter 64. So when your client is going to come with a product which is made of natural rubber, you have to first to go to chapter 40, find out whether that chapter covers that product or it does not cover that product. I'm going to give you one example here. Balloon. What is balloon? Is it possible to answer it in the chat here, esteemed friends? Okay, doesn't matter. Let us proceed. What is balloon? Is balloon a product of rubber and articles thereof, or is it a toy? Friends, there is a difference between GST and the customs tariff. Some point of time for some products, there's a difference. While balloon is classified under chapter 40 in the GST law, as per the Customs Tariff Act, it is under chapter 95 as a toy. Presentation has been made, my esteemed friends, that whether balloon should be classifiable under a toy or it should be classifiable under chapter 40. Of course, there being no differential rate structure, it makes no difference. But had there been a differential rate structure, there will certainly be a difference. Let us go to the next. What is this? What is this? Now, this is hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, this is a small boy who is driving one small cycle, a cycle. This is a small cycle. Now, what is this? Is it under chapter 87 or will be under chapter 95? Yes, it is a vehicle. It is for the small boy is driving it. For his size, he has to drive only this cycle and he cannot drive a bigger cycle. But in common parlance, what is this? Is it a toy or is it a vehicle? In fact, in common parlance, this is chapter 95, which is a toy and not a vehicle, because that is what chapter 87 will say. Okay. What is the general rule of interpretation, rule 2A? Now, any reference in a heading to an article shall be taken to include a reference to that article incomplete or unfinished, provided that, as presented, the incomplete or unfinished article has the essential character of the complete or finished article. I will give you an example, don't worry, I'm just reading it because many of us would never have read it at all. It shall also be taken to include a reference to that article complete or finished, presented, unassembled or assembled. You should go to 2A. Only when rule 1 has failed. Only when rule 1 is applicable, you have to proceed to rule 2 small a. What is this? Let us see. What is this, friends? You see this? Camel, wax, crayons. What is this? Now, Camlin Limited was manufacturing plastic crayons falling under subheading 9609, which was chargeable to nil rate of duty. In the manufacture of which an in-process product known as Crayplas, shapeless plastic crayon, comes into being. Now, Camlin classified under 9609, which was pencils, crayons, pencil leads, pastels, drawing charcoals, writing or drawing chalks. This is what the Camlin was classifying the goods. Department said it should come under 3204 chapter 32 relating to pigments and preparations based thereon other than those in unformulated and unstandardized or unprepared form not ready for use, as the same are nothing but plastic crayon compound and are covered under chapter 32 in view of being a preparation. Now, what is the decision? This is the decision. Classification of incomplete or unfinished goods having the essential characteristics of complete or finished product. In the instant case, the impugned goods only require to be given the shape of crayons before they can be made into finished crayons, and as such, they can be considered as incomplete or finished goods. Which means what? Which means that this is classifiable under chapter 96 only, where you only give a shape, that's all. In fact, I am not telling that you will find all these challenges as you proceed. But then when your client is going to come and ask you a rate of a particular product, and if you're going to say, please look at your from where you bought it, apply that rate, it may be wrong also. And that is the reason why when you are advising on the rate of the product, you tell the client, bring the product, show it to me, have a look at it, go through the rules which I've already dealt and also going to deal with it. Look at the Customs Tariff Act, look at the GST notification 1/2017, and then after charging a fee, you must give the opinion to your client. Never do a classification work for free, my esteemed friends, because in my limited experience of 23 years in GST, classification disputes have always gone to Supreme Court till the last. Now, what is this? IKEA, IKEA, make yourself furniture is available, isn't it? You go to an IKEA showroom, you want to buy a cupboard. Do they give you a cupboard? No. They will give you 20 sheets of wood. They will give you some screws. They will give you something to paste, and they'll give you a small booklet. They say, please take it, sir, your cupboard is ready. Now that is what is 2A. The 20 pieces of wood, the screws and the glue that they gave you are actually the cupboard which their intention is to sell the cupboard, make yourself furniture. All the characteristics, ingredients of the finished product are available. That is how you just see this picture which I'm showing to you. What is this? Is it an automobile on the right, and on the left you see just a shape of a car. Now, is it a finished product? Would you classify it as an automobile, or as a body of an automobile. Look at this, friends. 2b, any reference in a heading to a material or substance shall be taken to include a reference to mixtures or combinations of that material or substance with other materials or substances. Any reference to goods of a given material or substance shall be taken to include a reference to goods consisting wholly or partly of such a material or substance. The classification of goods consisting of more than one material or substance shall be according to principles of Rule 3. Friends, I'm going to now give you certain examples of the mixtures. Now, chicory which is added to coffee. Chicory which is added to coffee gives flavor to the coffee, but it will still remain a coffee, isn't it? In the ingredient. Now, natural rubber will cover a mixture of natural and synthetic rubber, but still it will be a rubber. And articles of gold will include articles which is made partly of gold. I'll give you an example as we proceed. Please wait. This is rule of interpretation, Rule 3 small a. Now, when by application of Rule 2b or for any other reason, goods are prima facie classifiable under 2 or more headings, classification shall be effected as follows. The heading which provides the most specific description shall be preferred to a heading which provides a more general description. This is the example, friends. The example for 3a is this. Engine parts of steel. Parts suitable for use solely or principally with engines or other cast articles of iron or steel. Which is more specific here? Undoubtedly 8409. Look at this. Electric shaving machine will come under which heading? 8510 or 8509? It comes under 8510. Electromechanical domestic appliances with self-contained electric motor. I am not telling it. It is all there in the customs tariff. Plastic name plate for motor vehicle is to be classified as an accessory of motor vehicle and not other articles of plastic. See, there will be your client who is manufacturing the name plate for a motor vehicle. In fact, that has to be classified as an accessory of motor vehicle and not as other article of plastic. You take a car for that matter. What all items go in that car? If they are accessories, they will be classified as an accessory of a motor vehicle and not their specific heading. Mixtures, compounds, and composite goods consisting of different material is made up of different components, and goods put up in sets for retail sale, which cannot be classified by reference to 3a, shall be classified if they consisted of material or component which gives them their essential character. In fact, all these rules of interpretation have to be adopted serially: 1, 2a, 2b, 3a, 3b, and so on. What is this? All of you see? These are all musical instruments? No. These are all speakers? Yes. Multimedia speakers with facilities like a USB, SD card, FM radio. Take a case of a mobile phone itself. Classified under what? Loudspeakers, whether or not mounted in their enclosures. Headphones and earphones, whether or not combined with a microphone. And sets consisting of a microphone and one or more loudspeakers, or sound recording or reproducing apparatus. See, you have to tell 8518 or 8519. This is the tribunal's decision. Impugned goods are speakers with added function, and the main role of the item in question remains amplifying the sound received from outside source or inbuilt feature. The tribunal finally held that this is speakers only and not a sound recording or reproducing up, because principally this is a sound which is when these are speakers. This is not a sound recording instrument. This is not a reproducing apparatus, but loud speakers. What is this? A nice, beautiful, small bag with shaving instruments, scissors, and a comb. Each and every product is separately identified, and in the Tariff Act, you will find rate for scissors separately, rate for comb separately, rate for this bag separately. But what you have to do, how you have to classify? Look at this. Hair dressing kit made up of electric hair clippers, comb, hair clippers chapter 85, comb chapter 96, pair of scissors chapter 82, brush chapter 96, everything put up in a small nice leather case heading 42. Now, what is this? The clippers are considered to have the essential character. So the whole kit will be classified under chapter 85 because you call it as a shaving kit or a hair dressing kit, and it comes in the under chapter 85. Now look at this. It's a small toy, isn't it? It may cost some 10 rupees or 20 rupees. Now, is it a toy or is it a keychain? Is it a toy or is it a keychain? Can any of you, do we have any chat facility here whereby?
Yes, sir.
Chat facility
is there.
Because I'm not able to view it in my screen because I'm using a new laptop today. So I'm not able to properly.
It's a keychain, sir.
Huh? Oh my, what happened? It's a new laptop which I'm using. So I'm anyhow. This is a small toy or is it a keychain? It can be used as a keychain, isn't it? You would have found today even small pictures, so many things. A small keychain thing is attached. It becomes a, what is it? What would be the classification? You have to tell. I'm not answering this, but then is it a keychain or is it a toy? According to me, it is a toy. Keychain is only incidental. Now, general rules of interpretation. 3C. When goods cannot be classified under any of the headings above that we saw, they shall be classified under the heading which occurs last in numerical order among those which equally merit consideration. If goods cannot be classified in accordance with the above rules, they shall be classified under the heading appropriate to the goods to which they are most akin. Look at this. Our very famous Kerala's case. The applicant was a wholesale distributor of Ada, that is vermicelli, to make payasam or Ada Pradhaman. Now, Ada is one of the grocery goods mainly used by our own, God's own country's people, Kerala, to prepare sweet kheer or payasam, otherwise called as Pradhaman. The Ada is produced from rice flour or maida and no other ingredients are added. Now, it is classifiable, whether it is classifiable under HSN 1902, attracting 5%, or 453, attracting 18%, because Ada is not specifically mentioned. Look at this. The Sevia and the Ada are both produced from rice flour. This is a decided case. or a mixture of maida and rice flour and used for the purpose of giving richness to the regional variety of the payasam. The only difference is that the sevia is prepared in the form of sticks and ada is prepared in the form of thin pieces, making use of different dyes. In payasams, vermicelli is used, ada is not used. Hence, ada is a substitute for vermicelli used for giving richness to certain regional varieties of payasam. So following rule 4, ada was classified under 1902 at the rate of 5% and not 18%. Now, this is general rule of interpretation 5. Cases and sets, friends. This is 6. That is, for legal purposes, the classification of goods in the subheadings of a heading shall be determined according to the terms of those subheadings. So there are subheadings also. So under a heading, there is a subheading, and this rule deals with the subheading. Now, subheadings within the same heading are comparable with each other, but not with subheadings under any other heading. The heading is to be first determined, and then the subheading has to be ascertained. Now, classification principles which have been evolved by courts based on numerous aspects. The common trade parlance, the end use, the importance of an expert opinion. See, when you are dealing with classification, please, sometimes you will need to take an expert opinion also. The minister's speech in the parliament, the importance of trade notice and circulars, and the provision at that particular relevant point of time. Look at this. What is this? A fine, nice ice cream. It's a decided case. Now, the view of the assessee was that this is a soft to serve as a product and distinct and separate from ice cream. Ice cream is commonly understood to have milk fat content above 8%, whereas this product contained only 5% milk, and hence it is not ice cream. Now, soft to serve, in the absence of a definition of the term ice cream, it is to be construed as per common parlance. Even if the provisions of Food Adulteration Act, it may not fall within the meaning of ice cream. Now, so whether this is ice cream or it is not ice cream, according to the decision given, it is you go to a shop, you buy ice cream, that's all. This is an ice cream, that's it. So it is no longer a, I mean, you won't say that no, since milk is less, it is not ice cream as per the Food Act. No. In the common parlance, this is an ice cream and hence chargeable at a particular rate only. What is this? This is used in our homes, isn't it? Domex Power Cleaner, cleaning agent, or is it a disinfectant? Look at this. Now, this product in this case are not sold as disinfectant, but are sold as cleaning agents who can kill germs. Now, if you look at the advertisements, they are advertised as if they will kill germs. But then does it become a disinfectant? Does it become an insecticide? Does it become a product which is not a cleaning agent? No. This is a product which kills germs, but then effectively, this is a cleaning agent and not a disinfectant, classifiable under chapter 34 and not 38. Friends, with respect to services, in fact, we are almost coming to the close of our presentation. With respect to services, see, you don't find the classification of services under the World Customs Organization because it deals only with goods. India has adopted the United Nations Central Product Classification with respect to services, chapter 99, which deals only with services. These are some of the headings of the chapter, if you can see. Section 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so on. You will find numerous list of services. I tell you, friends, one day just relax, read chapter 99. And you will find so many interesting things, esteemed friends. with respect to chapter 99. In fact, you will have to, read especially the construction related services. Read especially section 9, community, social and personal services and other miscellaneous services. This is as per the United Nations Product Code. Now, there is a difference between water distribution and water supply. Water distribution and water supply. Water distribution is the government's job in India. Water supply is that which private individuals, they take out the next place in a lorry and go and put it in another place. So friends, when you deal with goods and services, always think that there are more than one rate which is possible. Merely because a trader has applied the same rate as it is there in the purchase invoice may not be correct. It may be wrong sometimes, because if something is wrong in the beginning, the wrong continues till the end. And that is the biggest danger in GST. In fact, this is what my final steps I would like to tell you. Is it goods or is it services? Is it an activity listed in Schedule 2 or Schedule 3, Notification 1 by 2017? You must identify whether it is a composite supply or mixed supply, if there is any. Identify the HSN code from the rate notification number 1 by 2017. Apply the principles of interpretation of as per the Customs Tariff Act. And if it is services, you must understand the service code applicable on services in accordance with the annexure to notification number 11 by 2017. For one more time, I would tell you, friends, please read the notification with respect to goods and the services which classify the rates for various products, and you will find the difference. You will know that it makes an interesting reading, and tomorrow when the client is going to approach you, you will be able to clearly tell the client, look, this product is this and this product is not what you are applying the rate. You will be able to add value to the client. Friends, this is, of course, this is for circulation. You can circulate it to your branch members, dear Chairman, sir. Of course, it's not for circulation added by my office, but you are free to do it. So I will stop my screen share now, and I will go to the question answers. If any separate question answer thing is there, or is it available in the chat itself, sir?
Sir, dear members, if there is any question, please ask.
In fact, the question on classification may not come now, but when the issue comes from with the department with respect to rate of a particular product, the classification issues will arise. So
Yes.
members may ask a question now, absolutely no problem. Or you can send me an email also, absolutely no problem. In fact, this was a short presentation, friends, I made. But then if you want us to deal with in detail classification, all the chapters, everything, it will take 3 full days. Minimum 4 hours to 5 hours per day, 3 full days, 15 hours to 20 hours, it will, or 18 hours it will take for us to complete each and every chapter in classification, comparing with the GST rates, 5, 12, or 18, or 28, with the Customs Tariff Act. Any question is there, I am always available. You can ask me now, no issues. Now, questions will be on the chat box, isn't it, Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Questions will be in the chat box, is it?
It can be in the chat box, and our members
No, there's no question.
also.
There's no question currently. There's no question currently. Members have not asked me any question till now. I don't know whether, am I audible to them? I think I'm audible to them clearly.
Yes, yes, very much audible, sir.
In fact, we generally do not give much of importance to classification in our regular day-to-day practice, because many things are new to our profession. But as we proceed, as department comes up for audit and questions the rate of tax, as it happened in one of the cases, in many cases it has happened now that we have been able to know the department coming and asking that, sir, the rate which I've applied is wrong. This is not the correct rate. This is the rate. And as you proceed, the ignorance of the State Department also in the classification area is what is going to raise issues for the clients in future also. In fact, some of the issues members from Kerala have discussed with me on classification matters. On classification matters, members have discussed with me, and I have already given them my views and my opinion on certain products also, friends. And the issues will arise, especially when they are packed food, when electrical and electronics, when I say packed food, ready to eat and ready to cook. Ready to eat, the chips which are available, the Lay's chips which are available in the market, they are ready to eat. The vadams and this appalams which are available, they are ready to cook. You bring those vadams to home, you put it in the oil, heated oil, and you fry it and you eat it. That is ready to cook. So there may be a different rate, 5% to 12%, ready to cook and ready to eat. The idli dosa mix, the wet mix which is sold in the market, what is the rate of GST? In fact, there was a differential rate structure for this idli dosa mix which was sold in the market in 2017 for 4 to 5 months. And then the entire rate was properly synchronized. So as you proceed, friends, in your practice, you will find the classification extremely important. Of course, now at this point of time, you may not be able to appreciate, but let me tell you, when you're doing the GST audit, please spend considerable time on classification. Please ensure that your client has adopted the correct rate of GST. That is extremely important. Wherever in doubt, I request you to ask. I request you to deliberate. I request you to talk to your clients without any fear or favor and ensure that the rate adopted by your client is the correct rate. And if there is doubt, the last resort is advanced ruling. Last resort. Don't go immediately first to advanced ruling. The last resort should be the advanced ruling with respect to classification. So thank you, friends, for this wonderful opportunity that you have given me in making a small and short presentation on classification. As our commissioners have said, we have wonderful publications. We have a great publication on classification in the committee. There are many other publications which are there in the committee which you can download as in the soft format, or the hard copies you can buy from the CDS portal of the institute. All these publications are extremely important and benevolent publications as far as the committee is concerned. And committee's publications are most welcome. And as I said in the beginning, our institute's publication is the only publication the department has recommended to their officers for their study. Apart from department's publication, the only other publication recommended by the department, the CBIC, is the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India's publications on GST. It's a proud moment for your committee, friends. I should tell you this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, Rajendra Kumar, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I have a sir. Your presentation on classification was class presentation, sir.
Thank you.
So I have a small doubt if whether I am right in asking this. Is there a difference in classification between dessert and ice cream?
Yes, sir. There is a difference. There is a difference.
So I was told that only Amul's product is ice cream, whereas the other products are dessert, sold as ice cream.
Exactly correct, sir. You are 100% correct. There was a dispute in the central excise era also. See, ice cream basically should be made of milk. Milk. Now,
Okay, sir.
what is the milk content? What is the milk content will decide whether the product is an ice cream.
Okay, sir.
If there is no separate entry, then common parlance that it is an ice cream. Now, your child, you just take the child to a shop and show the child the dessert as well as the ice cream. For the child, both are ice creams only. They will not find a difference. So that is common trade parlance, the customer's view. But yes, there is a difference. If there is a rate difference, then there is a difference. For example, sir, I'll tell you the cola which is coming, the Coca-Cola or so many colas which are there now. The Honorable Prime Minister in the year 2017 gave a clarion call to the cola industry that please add certain percentage of fruit juice to your cola so that the farmers of this country will benefit. Many of them did it, and they started classifying it as a fruit juice chargeable at 12%. Whereas department said hardly any juice content is there. It is not fruit juice. It remains a cola chargeable at 28 plus 12%. Kerala is one state which has taken it up heavily, and a lot of notices were issued. I am aware of that, sir. So this is the way the differential rate structure arises when it comes to classification. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Over to Cherianji.
Thank you, sir. Respected Chairman and Speaker of the Day, it's a privilege to me for me to extend vote of thanks to all who have contributed to make this first day of workshop a success. I wish to thank Sri Giridhar Pai, Commissioner's Goods and Service Tax Thiruvananthapuram, for the inaugural address. The presence itself shows how important our community is delivering, how much important our community is for the department. In the absence of the Commissioner, we thank him for his presence and inaugural address. I take this opportunity to express our sincere thanks to our Central Council member, C. Babu Abraham Kallivail, for gracing this occasion as guest of honor. His presence today in this function has immensely enhanced the importance, and we are extremely thankful to you, sir, for your insightful address. I must express my deep gratitude to our respected Speaker of the Day, C.A. Rajendra Kumar, sir, the Central Council member and Chairman, GST and Indirect Tax Committee, ICA. The session reminded me of his session for GST course, which was held last year. Thank you, sir, for the detailed session on classification. Before concluding, let me express our sincere gratitude and appreciation to all my fellow members who have attended this webinar. Thank you all once again. We will meet again tomorrow the same time. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you all.